Hello everyone. We were discussing about characteristics of the database approach. So we'll continue with that. So what is that question? What are the characteristics of the database approach? Explain this for 8 marks. Explain the main characteristics of the database approach versus the file processing approach 8 marks. So first point is what self-describing nature of a database system. We already discussed it in the last video, right? So today we'll discuss about insulation between programs and data abstraction, support of multiple views of the data, sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing, that is OLTP. Okay, that's online transaction processing. So first you need to understand what is data, what the database definition is. This you already know. I already explained this in the previous video. However, I just want to tell you some more about some more information about this database definition. Here we have one how many tables: student, course, section, grade report, prerequisite. So each table, for example, student table has a primary key column, that is student number. Primary key column, right? Means what this is. When I say primary key, it is unique and not null. Unique means what? Once you enter 17 here you can see 17, you cannot enter it again. Okay, we cannot have multiple values of this, multiple copies of the same number. Okay, so it's unique. Not null means what? It is mandatory field. You cannot keep this particular what is that, column or cell blank. That is what not null. So it's a primary key. Primary key means what? Unique key and not null. So this student table has a primary key, student number. Course table has primary key, course number. Section table has primary key, section identifier. Grade report has grade report table doesn't have any primary keys. Okay, prerequisite doesn't have any primary keys. But here if you observe this section, it has section number. Section identifier is what? It's a, we call this as, it has student table has only primary key, so it's called as primary key table. Course table has only primary key, so it is called as course primary key table. Course table is what? Primary key table. These two are primary key tables. But if you observe this section table here, section identifier is what? Primary key. And course number is what? Foreign key. Why do we call it as foreign key? This course number of section is referring to course number of course table. That is why, see this, if you observe this course number, this is what? Course number CS1310. Here you can see CS1310, right? These values of course table are used in the section table. Okay, course number of course table are used in the course number of section table. So this is why that is why we call it as course number of section table is what? It's a foreign key. And so this is what? It's a primary key. This section table is what? Both primary key table as well as foreign key table, since it has both section identifier, which is primary key, and course number, which is foreign key. And grade report doesn't have any primary keys here, so because it contains only student number and section identifier, these two are foreign keys of student table as well as section table. Okay, and prerequisite doesn't have any primary keys because this one is table. That is why we call it as foreign key table. These two are foreign key tables: grade report and prerequisite. And here prerequisite course number is what? It is referring to course table, and prerequisite number is referring to prerequisite number is referring to again same table, course table only. Course number as prerequisite number are referring to course table, right? So this is what database definition. Now first let me take a student underscore details table. This is what database definition table. Okay, so now here we insert some values inside this. And here first initially we have only 3 columns, that is USN, student name, and student contact number. In file processing system, if we try to add birth date column, okay, to the existing table, what happens? It is not possible in file processing system. Means what? Whenever you if you want to make any changes to the database, this is what the database definition now, right? If you want to make any changes, if you want to add any column to the database, right? This is just an example I'm taking. When you want to add birth date column to the database, you have to change the entire program. If you if you make use of file processing system. But in DBMS approach, it is not like that. You can easily add birth date column. You can easily add birth date column. Okay, So what will happen now, whenever if I want to access this particular table now again, okay, so we make use of query select star from student underscore details dbms program, right? So once we write this query, okay, dbms query or sql query, sql query, and it will first check this query checks the dbms catalog, okay, that is metadata. Okay, so then if it is, if the what will happen whenever you when you add birth date column, it will be updated in the dbms catalog. Okay, so once it is updated in the dbms catalog, whenever you try to what is that, fetch select star means what, select all the star indicates all the columns. So here one more column is added. When you enter star star, it checks the dbms catalog, then it will display what, the entire table including birth date column. Okay, this is how it works in dbms approach. So this is called as program data independence. Means what, dbms approach is what is the important characteristics of dbms approach? Program data independence means what, program is independent from the uh, data. Okay, so means what, whenever you want to change data in the database, it won't affect the program. Fine, it will just check the dbms catalog, then it will show the, it will display the table. Fine, that is the speciality of dbms approach. Second one is what, we have in traditional file processing, the structure of data files. That's what, this is what, structure of data files. This is the structure of data files. And in traditional file processing, the structure of data files is embedded in the application programs itself. Application programs, java, c++, like that. So any changes to the structure of a file, means what, we have included birth date, right, birth date, may require changing all the programs that access that file. And where it is in the traditional file processing system. Means what, we have to change the entire program. By contrast, in dbms access programs do not require such changes in most cases. The structure of data files is stored in the dbms catalog separately from the access program. Okay, it is stored in the dbms catalog, which is it is separated from access program, that is the application program. We call this property as program data independence. For example, if a file access program may be written in such a way that it can access only student records of the structure shown in figure 1. If you want to add another piece of data, that is birth date column, to each student record, say the birth date, such a program will no longer work and must be changed in file processing system. Okay, that is the problem with file processing system. But in dbms approach, by contrast, in dbms we only need to change the description of the student records in the dbms catalog to reflect the inclusion of new data item, that is birth date. Here no programs are changed. The next time a dbms program, that is select star from student underscore details, refers to the catalog, the new structure, that is birth date column of student records including birth date column of student records, will be accessed and used, right? And then so next, let me explain you. Now you have understood what the program data independence is, right? Data is independent of the program. But now we'll discuss about what the program operation independence means. What, how operation is independent of the program. So this is, let me take simple program. Okay, java program. Void, this void is what, return type. Math is operation name or method name, and a and b are the arguments along with their data types, that is int, right? And here we have int x is equal to a semicolon, int y is equal to b semicolon, int z is equal to a plus b semicolon. This is a piece of code. I means what, implementation to add two numbers, right? It is, this is what we call it as these three, that is return type, operation name, and arguments along with the data types, we call it as interface or signature. And int x is equal to implementation, addition operation is there. These three lines are called as implementation or method body. And interface and implementation together, we call it as operation or function or method, right? And so if I want to, what is that, perform, if I want to replace this addition operation by subtraction operation, I just need to replace int z is equal to a plus b semicolon by int z is equal to a minus b semicolon, right? So then it won't affect the entire program. I'm just changing what, operation, that is implementation part of math method. So it won't affect the program, other program. Just what will happen, our application program, what application program does, it just checks the operation name that is math, operation name or method name math, and the argument that is a and b. If it is same, if it is correct, if it is not changed, then what is that, it will perform the implementation part. That is, if it is addition, it will perform addition operation. If it is if you replace it by the subtraction operation, it will perform subtraction operation. Means what, program is independent of this operation. Okay, even if you make any changes this inside this implementation or method body, it won't affect the program. It just checks the operation name and arguments. It will perform the necessary operations that are there in the implementation or method body. This is called as program operation independence. Means what, this operation, okay, or this operation or implementation is independent of the program. We call it as program independence. That's it. So how do we call this, how do we access this method or function? By calling, right? We have to call this function, right? In some types of database systems, such as object-oriented and object-relational systems, users can define operations on data. For example, addition operation as part of the database definition. An operation, also called a function or method, is specified in two parts. That's what we discussed just now. First one, the interface or signature, and the second one, the implementation or method body. The interface of or signature of an operation includes an operation name and the data types of its argument and parameters. That's what a and b are, the arguments or parameters, right? And data types is what, int. And then the implementation or method of the operation is specified separately. The implementation method, or that is operation, that is what, a plus b, z is equal to a plus b, that's operation, right? It is specified separately and can be changed without affecting the interface. Without affecting the interface, user application programs can operate on the data. User now have an application that operates on the data by invoking these operations through their names. For example, operation name, that is math, and argument, what are the arguments, a and b, right? Regardless of how operations are implemented, whether it's addition operation or subtraction operation. This may be termed as program operation independence. Data abstraction means what now? The characteristic that allows program data independence and the program operation independence is called as data abstraction. Okay, abstraction means what? Hiding some unwanted information from the end user. For example, when you go to ATM machine, you are interested, you just want to withdraw amount, that's it. Or you don't want what is there in the, you don't require what is there in the ATM machine, what is there inside the ATM machine, right? So you just want to withdraw amount, you'll just have to enter the this one password, enter the amount and withdraw the money, that's it. So this is what, hiding some unwanted information from the end user is what, abstraction. Support of multiple views of the data. So we already seen so many tables: student table, as course table, section table is, and what's that, prerequisite table, right? So now here we have means what, derived means what, this transcript view is called, this transcript view, that is the figure 3.3a. Transcript view is what, it's a combination of 2 to 3 tables. We have combined 2 to 3 tables. Means what, it is derived from the database definition. This table, transcript table or transcript view, one and the same. Transcript table or transcript view, one and the same. Okay, table is nothing but view. Okay, it is derived from the database definition. Okay, and course prerequisites is derived from the from two tables, that is course table and prerequisite, course section table and prerequisites table. Okay, combination of two tables. Okay, so now one user interested in what is that, the student name, course number, grade, semester, year and section id, and the other user is interested in course name, course number, prerequisites. These two are what, different views. Okay, different student requires different information from the, for example, you are the student now. Okay, you are interested in what is it, seeing your result. So what you have to do, you'll have to enter your username, USN, and you can fetch the information. So you require USN number. Other student is what is that, is interested in his or her results. So what he or she has to enter his or her USN number in order to fetch the result, in order to get the result in the website, right? This is how it works. So now multiple views of the data means what, it supports, means to DBMS approach supports multiple views of the data. Multiple user can access data in different forms. Next, a database has many types of users. Just now I have taken example of students, each of whom may require a different perspective of the view of the database. A view may be a subset of the database, or it may contain virtual data that is derived from the database files but is not explicitly stored. For example, if I take I'll take simple example, Excel sheet. I'll enter some user in 11010000. I'll write a formula is equal to count if, and I will select all the cells where I have written 1100. Select all the cells and comma 1 means what? It will count the number of 1 that are selected, okay, in the that particular selection. Okay, it will count the number of this one. So what formula I have used here is equal to count if, right? So I have derived it. I have, it's actually, this count is not stored in the database. I have derived it from the by using the formula, right? That is mathematical operations. Okay, so that is what it is not explicitly stored. It's a subset of the database. View may be a subset of database, or it may contain virtual data, right? Virtual data means derived from the other database, okay, from the database definition. Some users may not need to be aware of whether the data they refer to is stored or derived. For example, as I say, when you go for ATM machine, you are only interested in what is it, to withdraw the amount, that's it. Whether you don't want what is it, you don't want to know, you don't have to know what is stored in the database, whether it is derived or it is stored. Okay, a multi-user DBMS must provide the facilities for defining multiple views. Okay, a multi-user DBMS, it must provide what? The facilities for defining multi-views. Okay, and then for example, one user of the database of figure 1 may be interested only in accessing and printing the transcript of each student, and the view of the user is shown in figure 3a. Right, and the second user who is interested in only in checking that students have taken the prerequisites of each course for which the student registers may require the view of the view shown in figure 3b. That's what we have seen, right? This is what different views of the multiple views of the database approach, right? Next, sharing of data and multi-user transactions. So let me take this table. This is a SQL query to create the table. So once we execute this, we'll get this table, and insert query SQL query I have not given here. So once when you execute this query, it will just create the table USN, student name, contact number. That's it. Okay, here later we'll discuss about varchar, not null, and all. Not null is a primary key, and varchar is a variable character. That's it. This is a number is what the key. What is that? Data type. Varchar 2 and number are data types, and these are what column names. USN is the student number and mobile, and student details table name, right? And this is called as database definition. Okay, now this is structure of data. Okay, the data structure of data or data definition. Now, so database definition. Now this database can be accessed by different multiple users: professor, account office, and exam section. These three users can access the database at the same time. We call it as concurrently, okay, or simultaneously, concurrently or simultaneously. Okay, so that's what multi-user transaction processing. We call it as multi-user. Multiple users can access the database at the same time. Next, a multi-user DBMS, as its name says, okay, must allow multiple users to access the database at the same time. This is essential if data for multiple application is to be integrated and maintained in a single database. The DBMS must include concurrency control software to ensure that several users trying to update the same data do so in a controlled manner, so that the result of the update is correct. So we'll discuss about this concurrency control software. Okay, let us see how concurrency control software should work. Okay, so let me take an example. When several reservation agent, okay, say reservation agent 1 try to assign a seat, okay, seat number 3, okay, in on an airline flight. Okay, the DBMS should ensure that it can be accessed by only one agent at a time. Means what? If other agents are trying to access what is that, this particular seat, DBMS should not allow them to access. Okay, uh, these types of, because once that seat is been accessed by one agent, it should not be accessible to other agents, obviously, right? So these types of applications are generally called online transaction processing application, that is OLTP. Okay, we call it as OLTP. So next, a fundamental role of multi-user DBMS software is to ensure that the concurrent or simultaneous transactions operate correctly and efficiently. Okay, and then the isolation property, that is separation. Isolation means separation. Isolation property ensures that each transaction, for example, trying to access a same seat number 3. Okay, so each transaction appears to execute in isolation from other transaction, separated from other transactions. What is that? Agent 2, agent 3 are trying to access the same seat number. DBMS should not allow them to access it, even though hundreds of transactions may be executing concurrently. For example, if hundreds of people are trying to book a same seat number in a train ticket, okay, and then only one user should be allowed to access that particular seat. For example, seat number 3 only you can take, okay. If what is that, user is trying to access seat number 3 in train while booking train ticket, then that seat number 3 shouldn't be accessible to other users, okay. So that is what isolation property. And next, the atomicity property ensures that either all the database operations in the transactions are executed or none of them are executed. That is what about atomicity property. So first we have discussed about self-describing nature of a database system in the previous video, and in this video we discussed about insulation between programs and data abstraction, that is program data independence and program operation independence. Next, support of multiple views of the data, means what different users are interested in different information. So how DBMS supports these multiple views of the data, right? And then sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. Okay, same database is accessed by multiple users, that is professor and account office exam section, that's what. And also OLTP, online transaction processing. Yes, thank you so much, hope you have understood. If you have any doubt, please comment below. Thanks a lot.